Alright, this is a Gamel telegraph type fire alarm box, and it's called a slant fist box because of the slanted fist in the peak. But these boxes are spring wound, and the person who had a fire would find someone who had a key or break the glass to gain access to the key that was in the box. They'd pull the hook to set off the box, and it would ring a bell in the fire station that corresponded to the box number. This is box number 126, and it would ring a bell one time, then two times, and then six times, and the fireman would use run cards to look up the address that corresponded to that box number, and that's where they would go to. The person who pulled the box was supposed to stay there and tell the fireman where the fire was. If it was just around the corner or nearby, they were supposed to direct the fireman to the fire. Alright, these are Gamewell fire alarm boxes. The cast iron box here has an inner box inside that contains the works, which actually sent in the box number. This box is an older style, and it dates to about 1880, and rather than having a spring that operates the mechanism, it's weight driven. When you pull the lever on the outside, it would lift the spring, or lift the weight instead of the spring, and activate the box, which then sent its number, which would be rung on a bell. In this case, it's box number 921, so it'll ring 9 times, 2 times, and then 1 time. This is a 311 run card. First alarm, companies to respond to the fire. Second alarm, third alarm. And 11 indicates extra alarm, so that's why they're called 311 cards. These companies are the move-up companies. When engine 2 goes to the fire, engine 6 moves up to 2's location. Engine 9 moves to 4, 11 moves to 5. Then on the next alarm, engine 10 goes to 2, and 16 moves up to station 14. And you'll notice that as these companies move up, some of them get called on the next alarm. And then these are hook and ladder move up companies. This card came from Hartford, Connecticut, and dates to the early 40s, late 30s, 40s. This run board came from fire station number 12 in Birmingham, Alabama. The fire station had been sold and was about to become a homeless shelter, and I was able to go inside and find these things still on the wall, and was able to get them and bring them home. And they have switches for status lights, which would show the engine or the snorkel in the 60s, whether they were in service or out of service or in the station. It had a call bell to let you know if the firemen were outside playing basketball, you could ring the call bell and get their attention. Then this board shows block streets, plugs out of service, and new plugs in service. And these were just left in the fire station when the city moved out, and I thought that they were something that should be preserved. But this life net is 9 feet in diameter, which seems like a pretty fair size, but if you're 3 or 4 stories up and trying to jump into it, it's considerably smaller from that height. You had to have 8 men at least to hold the net, and you were supposed to hold the net with your palms up and thumbs under the rail, so if any jumpers hit the rail, your thumbs wouldn't get mashed. You were supposed to have your elbows at your sides so that you could absorb the shock with your arms as the jumper hit the nets without your elbows being jammed in your chest. And you're supposed to have a foot forward so you could take a step and move the net from side to side to catch the jumper if he was a little off target. This net was delivered on a 1939 Seagrave ladder truck that was delivered to Selma, Alabama. This is a English fire helmet. It's made of cork and covered with canvas material, and you could recognize English firemen by the shape of their helmets. This cork helmet was worn by the English from the mid-1930s until about 1990. This type of cork helmet, the different shapes sometimes indicated what part of England firemen worked in. This is a shape was derived from the earlier brass helmets that English firemen wore, which had a big crown or comb across the top of the helmet like this does. And originally you could identify firemen's nationalities by the shape of their helmet, just like the traditional American shape, would identify a fireman from the United States.
These extinguishers differ from modern extinguishers in that you can't use the acronym PASS that's so common now with extinguishers on all of these. They operate different ways. This extinguisher you have to pump. This extinguisher looks like a bug sprayer, and it has a pump operation. This extinguisher is glass. You actually have to be a good enough pitcher to throw it into the fire. This extinguisher is a chemical extinguisher, but it has a pin that you have to pull, a knob to turn to activate a compressed air cylinder, and then another trigger to actually expel the extinguishing agent. This extinguisher, this cord is supposed to go over the user's neck so that he can carry it while he's fighting the fire. Pulling it off the bracket is the same as pulling the pin. This little piece of the bracket keeps the trigger from being pulled inadvertently. But it's a carbon tetrachloride extinguisher, and the instructions say to avoid the fumes. Of course, you've got it around your neck, so it's pretty close to you, even while you're using it. So all of these extinguishers, you have to know something about the operation of to make them start or to use them. Where all extinguishers today use the pull, aim, squeeze, sweep acronym to be able to use.
1918, American LaFrance, and registered number 1974, and they delivered it in 1910, I think. So they'd only been building motorized trucks for 8 years when they built this one. This one is it's a Type 40 triple combination pump, but instead of having a hose, instead of having a water tank, it has a chemical. Wheeled extinguisher made by Prospect Deluge Company of Prospect, Ohio. And it has a patent date of 1907, and somebody got out a book about Prospect and talked all about how they patented their new acid bottle holder, which was patented in 1909, which was 2 years later than the date on this one. So I think this is a really early example of a Prospect wheeled extinguisher.